Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive. Picture this. You're enjoying a perfectly pleasant, if maybe a little quiet, literary luncheon.
Hmm.
Maybe you're just enjoying your coffee, lost in thought perhaps about your next big idea, when out of nowhere a complete stranger leans in
Right.
and asks you the most outlandish, deeply personal question about a decades-old family tragedy. What's your first instinct? What do you even do?
It's an immediate jolt, isn't it? Do you politely deflect, maybe feign a sudden memory lapse, or perhaps against all common sense, find yourself drawn into a past that seems like it has no business being resurrected?
Exactly.
They were doing exactly that last one.
That's right. Our deep dive today starts with just such a peculiar, really odd request, and it quickly pulls us into this rabbit hole of fragmented memories, human loyalties, and some truly startling truths.
Yeah.
Our mission is to untangle a mystery decades old, all sparked by one incredibly audacious question. Okay, let's unpack this.
The troubling request.
Our story centers on a character you might recognize if you're a fan of classic mysteries. The wonderfully eccentric novelist, Mrs. Oliver.
Oh, yes.
She's known for her ever-changing hairstyles, and at this particular luncheon, she's even contemplating wearing her hat backward.
Which her maid Maria is probably horrified by, quietly.
Oh, absolutely. But her afternoon takes an unexpected and very sharp turn when she's basically cornered by this rather formidable, quite bossy woman introduced as Mrs. Burton-Cox.
And what's truly remarkable about Mrs. Burton-Cox is her complete lack of subtlety. I mean, zero. She wastes absolutely no time immediately hitting Mrs. Oliver with a question that, quite frankly, would make anyone's jaw drop.
Right.
She wants to know, concerning Mrs. Oliver's goddaughter, Celia Ravenscroft, did her mother kill her father, or was it the father who killed the mother? Just like that.
Imagine the sheer awkwardness. I mean, Mrs. Oliver barely even remembers Celia, her goddaughter from years and years ago. She recalls like a small Queen Anne silver strainer she gave as a christening gift. That's it.
And yet, suddenly, she's thrust right into the heart of this dark, deeply personal family history. It's quite jarring.
So what is this history? What's the Ravenscroft case?
Right, the case Mrs. Burton-Cox was referring to is the Ravenscroft tragedy. It involves Sir Alistair and Lady Ravenscroft. They were found shot on a cliff, decades ago now.
Okay.
And it was widely believed to be a double suicide. The police at the time, they couldn't definitively conclude who shot whom. And because the general held quite a high position, the whole thing was sort of...
Swept under the rug?
Essentially, yes. Hushed up, kept quiet.
So why on earth is Mrs. Burton-Cox bothering Mrs. Oliver, a crime novelist of all people, about this long-closed case? What's the connection?
Well, it turns out Celia, the goddaughter, is engaged to Mrs. Burton-Cox's son, Desmond.
Ah.
And this prospective mother-in-law is, let's say, deeply concerned about the possibility of inherited murderous tendencies in her future daughter-in-law.
Inherited murderous tendencies.
Oh.
Wow.
It immediately raises a fascinating question about human motivation, doesn't it? You know, how far would someone actually go to prevent a marriage they disapprove of?
Yeah. So what does Mrs. Oliver do? She must have been completely thrown.
Completely. Her first instinct is actually to turn to her old friend, Hercule Poirot.
Of course.
Who, ever the pragmatist, simply advises her to do nothing. Just leave it alone.
Sensible advice, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
But, as we often see, especially with someone like Mrs. Oliver, human curiosity is a powerful force. It frequently trumps common sense.
Assembling the elephants.
Right. So despite Poirot's advice, Mrs. Oliver, driven by that powerful human curiosity you just mentioned, embarks on this truly unique investigation. She decides to seek out what she charmingly calls elephants.
Elephants, yes. People who remember things from the distant past.
Her peculiar train of thought, from teeth to ivory to elephant tusks, leads her to this metaphor. It's a classic Christie touch, isn't it? That slightly absurd logic leading to something brilliant.
Absolutely, and it's a brilliant narrative device for exploring the nature of memory itself. Because the challenge, as Mrs. Oliver quickly discovers, is that these elephants, they remember selectively. They often mix hard facts with hearsay, maybe even invent convenient solutions for things they only dimly recall. It's how memory works, really.
But buried in there somewhere.
Exactly. As Christie expertly shows us, within these seemingly unreliable and fragmented memories, crucial details often lie buried, just waiting for, someone like Poirot or even Mrs. Oliver to piece them together.
So she dives into her hunt, and it starts with the practical difficulty of just finding people from that long ago, sifting through old address books from 1970, 1969, even 1962.
Right, and she's got this new secretary, Miss Livingstone, who's very efficient, but just not the same as her old one, Miss Sedgwick, who apparently knew so many things, so that adds a bit of friction.
And then she starts connecting with these elephants. What sort of things do they remember?
It's a real mosaic of fragmented details, like you said. For instance, Mrs. Julia Carstairs. She vaguely recalls the Ravenscrofts, offers theories like maybe it was cancer, or affairs, his secretary, or maybe Lady Ravenscroft with a younger man in Malaya.
Just speculation, really.
Mostly, but crucially, she mentions Lady Ravenscroft wearing wigs. And she brings up St. Teresa of Avila, linking it to women starting new lives in middle age. Little threads.
Okay, wigs again. Interesting. Who else?
Then there's Mrs. Buckle, who actually worked for the Ravenscrofts as a cleaner, I think.
Oh, right.
She strongly disputes the suicide pact theory, says they seemed happy, too old for that sort of thing. She recalls the general's heart trouble, and importantly, Lady Ravenscroft's expensive wigs and face treatments.
Wigs keep coming up.
They do. And Mrs. Buckle even offers her own theories of outside foul play, maybe the gardener, Fred Wazell, or the tutor, Mr. Edmonds. She also mentions Lady Ravenscroft's stirring half-sister, Mrs. Jerryboy, who used to borrow money. So lots of potential red herrings, perhaps.
Or maybe not.
Huh.
Then there's a really pivotal encounter, isn't there? With her old nanny.
Yes, Nanny Matcham, who still affectionately calls Mrs. Oliver Miss Ariadne.
Oh.
Nanny Matcham, living in this little cottage filled with souvenirs from her time abroad, recounts a deeply disturbing family history. A mental case in the family, a sister-in-law,
Yo.
believed responsible for a child being thrown into a river, and another accident in India. It's chilling. And her simple statement, elephants don't forget, just hangs in the air. It's a stark reminder of buried secrets.
Wow. That casts a different light on things. And there's one more key elephant, the wig maker.
Yes, Mrs. Rosenthal. Elegant, retired from Bond Street. She provides what turn out to be some of the most crucial puzzle pieces. First, she confirms Lady Ravenscroft was a client.
Right.
And specifically remembers her having, count them, 4 expensive wigs.
4 wigs. That seems excessive, maybe?
It certainly seems noteworthy. Even more strikingly, she mentions that a French companion brought the wigs for copying when Lady Ravenscroft had been in the hospital.
A French companion.
And here's the real kicker. Mrs. Rosenthal also reveals that Lady Ravenscroft was very unhappy about a sister who had recently died. A twin sister.
A twin sister. That feels important.
Very. It's incredible how these seemingly random tidbits gleaned from these elephants with their selective memories slowly start to build a picture, isn't it?
Absolutely. And while Mrs. Oliver is off on her safari in East Africa as her secretary, Miss Livingstone rather amusingly puts it, Poirot is also starting to look into things.
He is, bringing his, formidable logical mind to bear on these scattered facts Mrs. Oliver is gathering.
Poirot connects the dots.
So how does Poirot approach this? Where does he start connecting these dots?
Well, he begins by consulting with Superintendent Garraway. He was the original police officer in charge of the Ravenscroft case all those years ago.
And what does Garraway say? Does he still think it was a straightforward suicide pact?
No, actually. Garraway admits that something about the case always felt wrong to him. Despite the apparent evidence pointing towards a suicide pact, he had lingering doubts.
Yeah.
And it's Garraway who provides a critical piece of information. Lady Ravenscroft, whose first name was Molly, had an identical twin sister named Dorothea. They called her Dolly.
An identical twin sister named Dolly. Okay, so Mrs. Rosenthal's comment was spot on. That immediately complicates things, doesn't it?
Hugely. So Poirot follows up on this. He meets a Dr. Willoughby.
Who's he?
He's the son of a celebrity specialist in mental disorders. And Dr. Willoughby unveils Dolly's truly disturbing history.
Oh, like what Nanny Matcham hinted at.
Exactly, but with more clinical detail. Mentally unstable, especially after her own husband's death. A profound dislike of children, and strongly suspected of being responsible for that child's death in a wheelbarrow accident.
Good heavens.
And later, while in India, another child was apparently attacked. Dolly underwent repeated psychiatric treatments, always seemed to return to normal for a while, but then would suffer another relapse. Really tragic pattern.
That's a truly chilling background. But how does any of this, the twin, the mental instability, the wigs, connect back to the Ravenscroft's death on the cliff? What specific things from Mrs. Oliver's findings does Poirot latch onto?
This is vintage Poirot, isn't it?
Uh,
He zooms in on two details that most people would probably dismiss as totally
well,
insignificant.
sure.
Lady Ravenscroft's possession of those 4 wigs.
Right. The 4 wigs.
And the fact that in the weeks just before her death, her dog bit her.
The dog bit her. Her own dog. That's bizarre. What did that tell Poirot? How could that possibly be relevant?
Exactly. It seems so random. But Poirot famously deduces. Same wig, different woman.
Wow. Explain that.
The dog, see, was utterly devoted to its true mistress, Molly. It reacted negatively, it bit, because it could tell by scent, something humans wouldn't notice, that the woman wearing Molly's clothes and her favorite curly wig was not Molly.
It was Dolly.
It was Dolly, Molly's identical twin. And remember the elderly, partially sighted housekeeper. She'd mentioned noticing the mistress's different manner. Subtle behavioral cues, things you might not consciously register, but they feel off.
Incredible. The dog knew. The housekeeper sensed something. It's those tiny observations.
That's Christie's genius, right? Using these seemingly minor, almost domestic details as the absolute linchpins for the entire mystery.
The truth unfolds.
So the tension really have to come to a head. Where does the final reveal happen?
It culminates back at Overcliff, the house by the cliff where the tragedy occurred. It's empty now, presumably.
Right.
Celia and Desmond are there, Mrs. Oliver, Poirot, of course. And then a new pivotal figure arrives. Mademoiselle Zélie Marat.
Who is she again?
She was Celia's former governess, but crucially, she was also Lady Ravenscroft's loyal companion, the French companion Mrs. Rosenthal mentioned.
Ah, the one who took the wigs to be copied. She must know something.
She knows everything. She was there. And with Poirot's calm, gentle, but absolutely relentless persistence, Zélie, who has carried this immense secret for decades, finally reveals the full, terrible truth.
Okay, what actually happened that day?
It starts with the first death. Dolly, consumed by this long-standing bitter hatred and jealousy toward her twin sister Molly. Remember, Molly had married Alistair, the man Dolly herself had once been engaged to.
Right, a deep-seated resentment.
Exactly, and fueled also by her irrational dislike for children, especially Molly's son Edward. Dolly pushed Molly over the cliff during a walk, just pushed her.
So it wasn't a suicide pact at all. It was murder from the very beginning.
Cold-blooded murder, that's the shocking foundation.
Yeah.
Then General Ravenscroft finds his dying wife Molly on the path below the cliff.
Oh, God. What does he do?
He's faced with this unimaginable choice. Molly makes him promise her he will protect Dolly, his wife's twin, despite knowing her instability, and equally important, protect their family's reputation from the scandal of a murder investigation.
A deathbed promise.
A deathbed promise. So he and Zélie move Molly's body, they hide the murder, they initiate this desperate, elaborate cover-up.
They actually move the body. That's
Mm.
incredible. How did they possibly maintain that charade? How did they explain Molly's reappearance?
Well, they didn't explain her reappearance, they explained her continued presence. They brought Dolly back to the house. They disguised her as Molly using Molly's clothes and, critically, her wigs.
The 4 wigs?
The 4 wigs Mrs. Rosenthal remembered, they were essential in maintaining this charade, especially the curly one that was Molly's favorite. The housekeeper, with her poor eyesight and hearing, mistook Dolly for Molly. She only noticed that slightly different manner we talked about.
An incredible act of impersonation, driven by grief and that promise. But the general still had a murderer under his roof, someone dangerously unstable.
Exactly. He knew Dolly's history. He knew she remained a danger. He was burdened by the deception, by the injustice to Molly. So he decided on a final, tragic solution.
What did he do?
He killed Dolly. You could call it a mercy killing, perhaps, to prevent future harm, and maybe in his mind, an act of justice for Molly. And then he took his own life.
Staging it all as a double suicide.
Precisely. He meticulously ensured both their fingerprints were on the revolver to make it appear as a suicide pact. He fulfilled his promise to Molly, and he protected his children, Celia included, from ever knowing their aunt was a murderess and their father had covered it up and committed another killing.
It's just a truly horrible story, as Desmond himself says when he hears it.
It is. But as Celia points out, there's a strange kind of relief in knowing the truth, isn't there? Even a truth as painful as this, she says, it's better to know.
The motives behind the inquiry.
So with the full, dark truth of the Ravenscroft tragedy finally revealed, the murder, the cover-up, the final stage suicide, what does this all mean for Mrs. Burton-Cox? The woman who started this entire deep dive with her incredibly blunt, impudent question, what was her actual motivation?
Ah, yes. Poirot, with his uncanny ability to uncover the deeper, often murkier currents of human behavior, reveals Desmond's secret.
Desmond has a secret.
He does. He's adopted.
Oh, okay.
His biological mother was actually a wealthy actress who left him a substantial inheritance, which he's due to receive when he turns 25.
Ah, so there's a financial angle. I suspected as much. Mrs. Burton-Cox, we learn, is financially struggling.
Deeply struggling. And she desperately desired this inheritance that Desmond was set to receive.
So what was the connection to Celia? How did the marriage play into it?
Precisely. If Desmond married Celia, his current will, which naturally left everything to his adoptive mother, Mrs. Burton-Cox would be invalidated upon marriage.
Right, marriage usually revokes a will.
Exactly. And he would then almost certainly make a new will, leaving his fortune to his wife, Celia.
So Mrs. Burton-Cox's curiosity.
Her supposed curiosity about the Ravenscroft tragedy and Celia's potential murderous tendencies wasn't about moral concern or family history at all. Not one bit.
It was about the money.
It was a cold, calculated attempt to break up the engagement, to cast doubt on Celia, make Desmond reconsider, so that his existing will leaving the money to her would remain in force. She wanted to know whether her mother killed her father or her father killed her mother, not for truth or closure, but purely for financial leverage and control.
That's a shocking revelation, isn't it? It just strips away any pretense of concern she might have feigned. It reveals this chillingly pragmatic, frankly odious motive, as Poirot calls it, behind her actions.
It really shows how often the most insidious motives aren't these grand dramatic passions or inherited madness, but just plain calculating financial greed. Outro.
So this deep dive began with a single audacious question at a luncheon, and it led us through just layers upon layers of deception, memory, and incredibly profound, difficult human choices. We've seen how a novelist's, slightly eccentric curiosity combined with an inspector's lingering doubts from decades ago, a doctor's professional records, and the really fragmented recollections of these elephants. How it all came together, piece by painstaking piece, to uncover a truth almost too painful to bear.
It really highlights how, as Poirot wisely says, old sins have long shadows. They really do. And how knowledge, even when it's excruciating, even when it's horrifying, can sometimes be a necessary foundation for moving forward.
Right. Celia and Desmond, for all the pain and shock, they kind of needed this truth, didn't they? To build their future on solid ground without those unspoken shadows.
Definitely.
And in the end, as Mrs. Oliver so poignantly observed, elephants can remember, but we are human beings, and mercifully human beings can forget. It's a thought that resonates deeply, isn't it? That contrast between perfect recall and the human capacity to perhaps selectively move past certain traumas, or at least try to.
Indeed. And perhaps the most profound takeaway from this whole tangled story is the sheer complexity of human motivation. You've got love, hate, duty, jealousy, despair, and even, as we saw, the cold pursuit of financial gain.
All intertwined.
All intertwining in ways that really defy simple explanations, shaping lives and destinies in these incredibly unpredictable, often tragic patterns.
So we leave you with this provocative thought. How much do the unresolved mysteries and the untold truths of the past, maybe even in our own families or histories, subtly shape our present? And what courage might it take to actually confront them, even decades later, knowing the painful answers they might reveal?
Something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel a little more well-informed and perhaps, a little more curious about the Shadows History casts.